Mission Impossible 7 – Everything You Need to Know. Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie are returning for 2 more Mission Impossible films, after delivering the highest box office grosses for a Mission Impossible film yet. McQuarrie will write and direct both films, which will be shot concurrently. Here's everything we know about the upcoming Mission Impossible films. It's a back-to-back film. We expect a colon and an M- in the titles of these Mission Impossible films. In fact, the official title of Mission Impossible 7 has been revealed to be Mission Impossible – Dead Reckoning Part 1. This implies that the title of Mission Impossible 8 will be Mission Impossible – Dead Reckoning Part 2. But we will have to wait a little longer for confirmation. We don't know much about the upcoming Mission Impossible films' plots. However, based on the franchise's history, they will most likely include a lot of action, many stunts, and at least one daring escape. Both Mission Impossible 7 and Mission Impossible 8 will be written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie. He previously wrote and directed Mission Impossible, Fallout, and Mission Impossible – Rogue Nation. The next 2 films in the franchise, like the 5th and 6th, are being shot back to back. The wild submarine fan theory might be true. The director of Mission Impossible – Dead Reckoning Part 1 may have revealed a massive stunt involving a submarine. The Light the Fuse podcast celebrated their 200th episode with a massive lineup of interview guests, including Cruise, Mission Impossible 7 stars Mark Gatiss and Nick Offerman, writer-director Christopher McQuarrie, and editor Eddie Hamilton, with a special appearance from Cruise's Top Gun Maverick co-stars Glenn Powell, Greg Tarzan Davis, and Danny Ramirez. The hosts mentioned a fan theory that the scuba suit scene in Dead Reckoning's submarine scene would be used to exit the submarine through the missile hatch during their conversation with McQuarrie. McQuarrie coyly responded, saying, "We came up with this submarine sequence that then kind of ran away. It took on a life of its own, as things in Mission do, and it became something of a character in and of itself." He then added, "That fan theory is interesting. That's all very fascinating. That sounds like stuff that would be exciting to put in a movie. I would say everything that person is speculating on is certainly something you could do with that suit." While he isn't fully committing to confirmation, this playful quote appears to imply that the theory is correct. Knowing Cruise's penchant for realism, this almost guarantees that the actor filmed a scene in which he swims out through a submarine's missile hatch. This is something Ethan Hunt has never done before, proving that there is always something bigger and more bombastic in store for the iconic character. The cast. Naturally, Cruise reprises his role as Ethan Hunt, as does Ving Rhames as Luther Stickle. Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby, Angela Bassett, and Frederick Smith will also reprise their roles in the upcoming films. One major returning figure is Henry Czerny's Eugene Kittredge, who hasn't appeared in the franchise since the first installment in 1996. Kittredge was the IMF director on the hunt for Ethan, believing he was the agency's mole. Among new faces joining the franchise, which McQuarrie also announced on Instagram, are Hayley Atwell, Asai Morales, Palm Clementif, Charles Parnell, Indra Varma, Mark Gatiss, Rob Delaney, Kerry Elwes, and Shea Wingham. Morales will play Ethan Hunt's next foe, replacing Nicholas Hoult, who departed due to scheduling conflicts. In August, we learned that Nick Offerman and Janet McTeer would join Mission Impossible 8. We don't know details about their roles yet. Why is it titled Dead Reckoning? McQuarrie was joined by stars of the upcoming films in an interview on the podcast Light the Fuse, where they discussed the new direction in the beloved action franchise. Specifically, the director went on to explain the reasoning behind the titles of both films, telling listeners that Part 1 initially began as a Ghost Protocol-esque title before changing the 2 into parts. The roles of both new and returning characters are explained throughout the rest of the interview. He first said that the title was first meant to be Part 1, then it did to Part 1, which is why it eventually settled on being Part 1 and Part 2. He then explained, "The title for the first movie was nearly a title that referred to something like a Ghost Protocol kind of thing. It was a government policy. It wasn't a government policy, it was a government, what would you call it? A government measure of last resort, with catastrophic consequences." He then added, "Over the course of our really starting to dig down into the arc of the character journey for Ethan, it took on deeper and deeper meanings as we went. The franchise's future beyond the next 2 installments. There has been no official word on whether these 2 films will serve as the franchise's series finale. However, Variety reports that Ethan Hunt and his comrades have met their end. According to trade reports, Mission Impossible 8 will be the final installment in the long-running franchise. Nerdist has reached out to Paramount Pictures for confirmation, but they have not yet responded. If this is the end of the franchise after 8 films and nearly 30 years, it is quite a feat. Tom Cruise will be 60 by the time Mission Impossible 8 hits theaters, so now is the time for him to hang up his Ethan Hunt coat and hopefully leave on a high note. And we mean literally, as he'll probably go out on a high note, hanging off the side of a mountain or a skyscraper one last time.